MrTek suggests.
In 2018, Govee set themselves apart from the majority of RGB light strip manufacturers when they released their very first TV color syncing immersion light kit. It helped boost the brand's notoriety and put the leading company in the space, Philips Hue, directly in its crosshairs. Users could now enjoy TV color syncing RGBIC lighting without breaking the bank, and best of all, there were no video source limitations, as with the Philips Hue HDMI sync box, which often frustrated cord cutters who prefer to power their content through the use of smart TV apps. The first Govee Immersion light kit was well received for the most part, but it wasn't without its flaws, most specifically the inaccuracies in the color matching science, along with a handful of other small gripes. But nevertheless, the potential was there. You could see it, feel it, and with a few improvements and tweaks here and there, the Govee Immersion light kit could really be something special. Well, the Govee Immersion 2.0 light kit has arrived, but is it any good? Is it worth shelling out $70 for? And most importantly, for those who already own the first generation kit, is it even worth the upgrade? All of this and more coming up. Okay guys, before I jump in here, I'd like to give you guys some timestamps. The review will be organized as such. First, we'll take a look at the specs for each of the two light kits, and then we'll briefly take a look at what you get inside of the box for the 2.0 version, followed by some installation tips and tricks, and then we'll do a head-to-head color seeking demo of each of the light kits. And finally, I'll wrap things up with my final thoughts, key takeaways, and what I think the next steps for Govee should be in this space in order to further improve their offerings and remain competitive with Philips Hue. Let's kick things off taking a look at the specs for the Immersion 2.0 kit versus the first gen. We are now getting 4 feet of additional length with the 2.0 because it now includes a fourth section to cover off on the bottom of your TV. Now, right off the back, this is a huge step in the right direction with a significant improvement over the first gen, which only covered the top and the sides of your TV. And even the Philips Hue gradient light strips don't even cover off on this bottom section. And I just never really understood this. I mean, I suppose it's not a huge deal if your TV is sitting on top of a TV stand, but if you have your TV mounted on the wall, as most people are doing today, the absence of a bottom section just leaves this dark, phantasmic void beneath your TV. As with the previous version, 55 to 65 inch TVs are the only recommended size, which I wasn't so thrilled about because I do have a 75 inch TV in my living room that could really use some sprucing up. So I was really hoping that Govee will release a second immersion kit this year suitable for 70 to 80 inch TVs. Of course, both generations feature the RGBIC chip technology that allows the light strips to produce multiple colors simultaneously. But we are getting an improved 1080p camera with the 2.0 that I am happy to say makes a significant difference in terms of the color matching science and the speed in which the camera translates the colors being displayed across your screen. Power supply, input, and virtual assistant capabilities are virtually the same, but I would have loved to see support for Apple HomeKit as well as for IFTTT. Now, the 2.0 version has 36 additional lamp beads with 114 as opposed to the 78 on the original model. Now, obviously, these lights are packed with a wealth of features and capabilities, such as music modes and dynamic scenes. But if you're paying $70 for light strips, I'm going to assume that the predominant technology that you're after is the TV color syncing science. So that is where the focus of this video is going to be. So when you get the Govee Immersion light kit in hand, you'll see that it ships in a very compact, bright, and colorful little box. But don't be deterred because there's actually a ton of items crammed inside. You'll get the star of the show, the 12.5 foot light strip, which, in addition to the increased length, is now coated with a silicone protectant. They feel thicker and more premium as opposed to the first gen, and I'm really glad to see that Govee got rid of the coil wires connecting each of the sections as with the old model. The mini input controller now comes with 3 physical buttons that allow you to power on and off the device, swap between single solid colors, and there is a music/dimmer button. You can tap the button once to switch to music mode or long press to adjust the brightness. The 1080p camera has also been improved in design over its predecessor. You'll notice that rather than extending the camera eye upward like an antenna, as with the first version, the camera is projected further outward, sort of like a microphone boom arm. This allows the fisheye camera to capture an even better angle of your screen to see more real estate from corner to corner. Of course, the power supply adapter is included as well, along with 8 mini foam squares that are used to assist in camera calibration. And that is a great segue into the installation tips and tricks. Now again, Govee recommends that you install the 2.0 Immersion kit onto 55 to 65 inch TVs. During the making of this video, I actually upgraded my old 55 Samsung, where I previously installed the first generation Immersion kit, to a 65. This is where the 2.0 kit has been installed. Pro tip number 1, before you begin the peel and stick process for the light strips, it's really important to scrub your TV down with a rag dampened with alcohol. Don't rely solely on the tissue wipes that Govee includes inside of the box. Pro tip number 2, carefully plan things out first to make sure that everything fits just like you envision it. Right off the back, I can tell you that if you have a 65 or larger, you won't be able to apply the light strips right up to the edge on the back of the TV. I learned this the hard way after applying 2 of the sections, but I was actually able to remove them with no issue at all. And then I simply used a heat gun on the lowest setting to warm up the glue paste before reapplying it. If you have a 65 like I do, you'll want to apply the strips on the sides of the TV about 2 inches inward from the edge and about 1 inch inward from the top and the bottom edges. For the corners, take care not to leave too much space between the sections, as this will cause unsightly breaks in the colors from the front of the TV. I was able to wrap the cords securely enough to where they lay flush against the back of the TV, and I didn't require any of the additional included clips. If you have a particular side of your TV where you want your input remote to go for easier access, make sure to begin applying the strips on that side as well. With the first Immersion kit, this wasn't even an option because the Govee app would only recognize the light strips in one specific sequence. But this time around, during the calibration stage, Govee gives you the ability to customize the position of the sections to your liking as long as you follow the directional arrows. Now, as you can see, I have a soundbar attached to the bottom of my TV. So I decided to place the bottom section of the lights there as well so that the colors are a bit more visible from the front. But because my soundbar isn't a perfectly flat surface, I decided to use a few third-party adhesive clips instead of sticking the light strip down directly. I decided to go with these black ones over the ones that Govee provides because they blend much better and they're a lot less permanent if I do decide to place the bottom strip directly to the TV later on. I can simply slip the light strip out of the loop versus having to pull off the entire Govee clip. And these types of clips don't generally reapply very well like the strips themselves. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the camera placement because it's a very important step in the installation process. Pro tip number 3, if your primary seating is low enough to the point where you need to tilt your TV downward for a more comfortable viewing experience, then I recommend placing your camera at the bottom of the TV for best results. However, if you don't really have much of a tilt on your TV, then either the top or bottom mount should work just fine, as long as you don't find the top mount too distracting. And I have to say, I'm very pleased to find that the Govee app can now recognize a bottom mounted camera, unlike the first Immersion kit. And because of this inability to modify the settings and really dial them in inside of the app, I was never really able to get consistent performance with mounting the camera on the bottom with the first Immersion kit. And so I ended up placing the camera on the top and spray painting it white to help it vanish against my bright white backdrop. And that brings us to pro tip number 4. If you have your TV mounted to the wall and you're using a soundbar, consider mounting the soundbar to the TV with brackets and then mount the camera to the soundbar, especially if you have a TV that's crazy thin. This will also protect your TV from damage if you ever need to remove the camera down the road. Because if something's going to happen, I'd certainly rather it happen to the soundbar because TVs are way more expensive. And don't worry, I'll drop a few links down below for some affordable soundbar mounting brackets. Another pro for the soundbar mounting option that I neglected to mention earlier is that it places the camera nearly 3 inches further away from your TV screen. This allows the camera eye to capture an even wider angle from corner to corner. Now, when it comes to the calibration process for the 2.0 light kit, it's a little more intensive this time around with the addition of the foam squares, but I definitely recommend doing this at least once in the very beginning. That brings us to pro tip number 5. Do not stick the foam squares directly to the TV screen as instructed, because the adhesive that Govee applied to the back of these is way too strong. Trust me, you could end up damaging your TV screen when it comes time to peeling them off. Instead, use a tiny roll of masking tape with mild adhesive. Roll it into a small square to create a double-sided tape effect, and then stick that to the non-adhesive side of the foam squares. Now you'll still need to remove the adhesive backing on the squares so that your camera can pick them up properly, but this strong adhesive won't come in contact with your TV screen at all. And as you can see, the masking tape will secure the foam squares in place just fine for the calibration process, and they peel off with zero effort or worry at all. From there, the Govee app will clearly walk you through the rest of the calibration process, positioning the white dots to the corners of your TV image, and fine-tuning using the squares to make sure that everything is captured and looking good. Okay guys, enough talk. Time for the head-to-head demonstration, because as they say, a picture, or a video in this case, is worth 1,000 words. Alright guys, time to wrap things up and share my final thoughts and key takeaways. The new 2.0 Immersion TV color syncing kit from Govee clearly outperformed its predecessor in virtually every aspect. The 2.0 actually sees greens and yellows now, and when the screen is predominantly black, the LEDs shift to a dim white glow, which I much prefer over using blues to represent blacks. Obviously, the new bottom fourth section adds a new layer of immersion to the experience, and the 1080p camera makes color recognition snappier and less delayed as with the old model. I think Govee did a fantastic job with adding additional app functionalities and customization levers regarding the placement of the camera and the option to install the light strips in the direction that makes the most sense for your particular setup. My router is closest to the right side of my TV facing from the front, so I place my controller here for the best Wi-Fi signal possible, and I'm also right-handed, which makes it easier to toggle the buttons, which again aren't even included on the original model. But when it comes to this new, brighter, shinier version of the Immersion kit, it's not all roses and tulips, because I do feel that the old model actually gets a bit brighter than the new Immersion kit, which I suppose is to compensate for the absence of a bottom section. And as with the old model, technology for games, anime, music videos, animations, and all of the like. But now, I want to pose a question. Where does Govee go from here? Because as fun and affordable as the Govee color syncing light kits are, owners unfortunately cannot expand upon their setups from a TV color syncing perspective. How awesome would it be if owners could sync their Govee light bulbs or additional light strips with what the TV mounted camera is capturing? Right now, there are a number of new products on the market from Govee, such as the Aura table lamp, which I just picked up, and there is the Govee Flow Pro bars. But none of these cool new products can be bridged to mimic what is being shown on the big screen using the previously installed 1080p camera. Moving forward, Customers want the ability to expand their setups in a similar fashion to Philips Hue's ecosystem. Probably the biggest missed opportunity here at the moment is the inability to bridge the FlowPro TV light bars with the Govee Immersion kit, because the two products operate independently as if they were engineered by two separate companies altogether. If you want the Govee bars and the Immersion kit to color sync with the content being displayed on your TV, guess what? You'll have to use two dedicated cameras. That's right, two. That's pretty disappointing. I mean, it's tough enough that we have to stomach one camera, but two? A few weeks back, I put out a video explaining an app that uses the camera on your cell phone to color sync multiple light strips and RGB bulbs with the content on your TV or your monitor. And it has me wondering now why this technology couldn't be implemented within the Govee app to synchronize products using a single camera. At the very least, I was hoping that the Govee FlowPro bars could be wired to the Immersion controller box to eliminate the need for a second camera. But Govee has already confirmed that that is not yet possible. But with that said, I'm probably going to try the two light kits together anyway. That might even be my next video. Drop a like or comment below if you'd like to see a head-to-head comparison of the new Govee Immersion light kit versus the new Govee FlowPro bars. So, to summarize, if you're thinking about picking up either the old or the new Govee Immersion color syncing light kit, go ahead and pay a few extra bucks for the new model to take advantage of all the new features described. And if you already own the original model and you're wondering if the new version is worth the upgrade, I would say that it definitely is. This isn't just a 2021 money grab from Govee. The new model is vastly improved over its predecessor. And I think the fact that Govee is no longer selling the original model on their website is very telling. But before you go screaming, "Take my money" for this latest model here, do taper your expectations, because while the colors are much more accurate than before, they're not going to be as accurate as a device that uses internal data to translate colors, such as the Philips Hue HDMI sync box or the Nanoleaf screen mirroring feature. Though the limitations for the Hue and the Nanoleaf are very real. I was actually planning on picking up the Philips Hue sync box this year until I learned that it doesn't support HDMI 2.1, which the PS5 and the new Xbox require in order to achieve 120 Hz refresh rate. The current Philips Hue sync box would actually downgrade your content to 60 Hz. Now, if Philips Hue introduces a new unit that can fully support the new consoles, I'll definitely take the plunge. But for now, I am perfectly happy with this much more affordable Govee alternative. Well, that about wraps things up for this one. If you found any part of this video to be helpful, make sure to give a quick thumbs up and to subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, peace.
MrTek suggests